there we go. Now you can hear me. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties induced by me. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Unreasonable Man podcast. I feel the need tonight to talk about why I call it the Unreasonable Man podcast, and the reason for that is I think we're going to talk about a lot of things where we really need to be unreasonable. Things that are going on out there in our daily lives that are really not conducive, really, to um, daily life in America. Maybe in other places. I don't want to speak for every country out there, but in America, these are things that I find really disturbing. So, for anyone that doesn't know, the Unreasonable Man moniker comes from a quote by George Bernard Shaw back in 1904. He wrote a play called Men and Supermen. And the proposition was that the evolution would happen where the highest level women would date the highest level men, and then they would have the best kids, and those kids would marry the best kids, and everybody would evolve in this manner so that by now, because that was 100 years ago, um, we would all be supermen. And that didn't happen, obviously. Shaw was a socialist fuck. I mean, he was really not a good guy. He really had a real he was just not a good guy. I mean, he just wasn't. And he's right about the Unreasonable Man quote, though. And the quote is, and I'm going to do my best because I didn't write notes or anything. The quote is, "The reasonable man accepts life, or pardon me, accepts the world around him and bends to its will. The unreasonable man persists in making the world bend to him. Therefore, all change must come from the unreasonable man." And that's like super accurate, guys. That really is. It's really, and we're gonna go into some of this stuff where people are reasonable, and pretty much everything that we're asked to do day to day is somebody asking us to do something reasonable. Somebody that it's like it's reasonable expectation of this. Why do you think that it's reasonable for you to do that? Why is it that you feel like that it's unreasonable for someone to ask you to do this? And at the end of the day, none of their damn business. If it's unreasonable to me, then I'm going to be unreasonable about it. And I think that we have to be that way, and we deserve, we really, I shouldn't say deserve. We owe it to ourselves, our country, our neighbors, and basically everybody to be as unreasonable and unruly as possible. Um, and and that's just the way it is. I mean, I just can't put it any clearer than that. I would posit that for most people, not all, obviously, I think that there's some people out there that are not particularly, what's the word I'm looking for here? There are people out there that are not particularly unreasonable, and they're not particularly interested in being seen as being unreasonable. And we need to change that. We really do. I'm going to lead off tonight talking about I watched this really good thing. Somebody put it out in the chat earlier today, and I just happened to be there, sitting at my desk trying to get some stuff done. And it was this Destiny versus Candace Owens. Wasn't really a debate. It was kind of like an interview, kind of I don't really know what you would call it. It was interesting, is what it was. And Candace, man, I really feel like that Candace felt attacked by Destiny when he clipped her. Um, you know, I guess not really. She didn't really have an argument. He clipped her segments from the Whatever podcast where she went after this woman. Kinda, not really though. I watched that episode. I didn't think it was that bad, and the way he explains it is that um, Candace was being disingenuous and kind of not being very Christian because she went after this woman, and then of course said, "Well, I will pray for you," which I honestly believe Candace meant that she would pray for that woman, and probably felt sorry for that lady. And you can't Destiny is just one of those guys that I want to like him a lot. Like, I really want to like him because he seems cool. He's a little bit, I don't know, like, it's like he has moments where you think he's like like a normal, almost, I don't want to say alpha, but like a normal male. And then he has other times he's just like, he's not really that guy, right? He's just not. And of course we all know, his wife cheated on him, and he had this open marriage that he thought was that he went around telling everybody was just great. It was the way to go. Everything is perfect. You can't get better than what he has. And okay, it's not for everybody, but it is his jam. It's what he's into. And of course, she cheated on him, left him for a complete trash basket. I mean, the dude that she left Destiny for is irredeemable. Like, I can't even, like, I don't even know how that works out. I really don't. I mean, it's just dumb, right? But it happened. And on the other side of the argument, you have Candace, who's like, she grew up poor, like dirt poor, and well, not dirt poor, but she grew up poor. She had a lot of siblings. She struggled a bit, and she's worked really hard and leveraged every single opportunity that she's been given. Now, I take nothing away from her, in the climb that she's made. I'm positive that it's been very calculating, and it's been very, um, well, driven. I mean, I can't use another word than driven. I mean, she's just a really driven person. And, like, even now, you see her everywhere. She is absolutely on all the shows, all the podcasts. She will do a little podcast with, barely 6,000 people showing up on the live. And, she'll go do it. And a part of that, I think, is because, um, you know, she has to create that content so that she's valuable to the Daily Wire, and I get that. And then there's other parts of it too, right? I think it's awesome. I personally, I really like Candace. I don't know if I'd want to be her neighbor, but I like her enough to like her. She's okay. Um, and she doesn't make me super crazy. And I really felt like that Destiny has a really overly emphasized career as a debater, as a great debater, because he has very specific tactics that work very well on a lot of people, especially people that kind of talk maybe a little slower, or they want to think about their reply before they just spew it out there. And he has this really good technique of where he speaks so fast, and he has so many questions. He has like five questions in one little thing, and you try and answer just one. And what he's trying, it's obvious what he's trying to do, right? He wants you to stumble and trip over your own words and look like you don't know what you're talking about, where you're getting frustrated when the whole time you're just really trying to answer his questions. And I really like that Candace said, "No, stop. We're gonna do this my way, right? Like, we're not playing. I'm not playing your game today, Destiny. Thank you." So I really like that. And other than that, it really was a nothing burger. That she cooked him a little bit. He kind of came after her on some things. I think she's right about college. Obviously, I've said that many times myself, that my college career was entirely wasted and a lot of money gone down the tubes. Fortunately, it wasn't $100,000 like everybody else seems to be, but it was still money that was gone. So, and that kind of leads me right into, where the meat of tonight's podcast. And by the way, I'm going to be monologuing tonight. I tried to get, Berto was supposed to be on tonight. He I don't know what's going on with him. I think he's working like super, super hard. He couldn't be here the whole time last time. He was late coming in. He's really got a lot going on. And I think as much as he wants to stream and talk and discuss issues, he has a business to run and he needs to do it. And I keep telling him, just go do your business. I'm not really sure what's going on with Josie. I think she's probably really busy right now. I know that she just quit one of her jobs. I think she was like did contract work, and she's quit doing that. And so I don't know if she's trying to find something else or what. I don't, or she had to pick up something somewhere else, that she doesn't normally do. Anyway, she's not here tonight. That's fine. I'm going to monologue. Hopefully, it'll be pretty good. If I can get a guest to come on midstream, we'll see if we can do that. I doubt we will. It'll probably just be me monologuing, and it won't be a 6-hour stream tonight. It will probably only be maybe a couple of hours, and you guys can get to sleep early. All three of you that are currently watching. Actually, I don't even know if it's 3, but that's fine. So, with that little update, let's get into kind of where I was going, and the reason I kind of brought up the Destiny versus Candace Owen things is Candace hit it right on the head. Our college costs are crazy, and it's 100% due to politicians that bought votes by changing the rules where college student loans are concerned. It used to be that you had to absolutely do the right thing, go to college, save your money, get the smallest amount of student loans you could, and you considered your college based on what you could spend. And now it has nothing to do with what you can spend. It's how hard you want to party or what school your scores will get you into, which isn't a big deal anymore because what do scores matter? Those are irrelevant. All that matters is that you fill out the forms and you get to go to college. And college is trash right now. I'm going to say it. I'm going to go on record saying it. Here it is in video. You can, it could be clipped. It can be spread all over the internet. I will say it again. College is just trash right now. If somebody tells me, if I were still running a business, or a matter of fact, I'm looking at investing in and buying some businesses. If I had somebody come to me and they told me they had a 4-year college degree, and I had another guy who said I have 4 years of experience in an accounting firm, and I don't have a college degree, but I'm taking my CPA test next week, I would hire the guy that's been working for 4 years. I wouldn't even. I don't know that I even bother interviewing the guy who's resume just reflected 4 years of college plus, with an emphasis on accounting. I don't know that I would even talk to the guy because honestly, I think college is trash. And I don't think anybody learns anything there, which puts it. So this is what's so fucking infuriating. The politicians tax the crap out of us to pay for these student loans that they get paid back regardless because you can't BK out of a federal student loan program. So they get paid back, and then they're onerous to every single person that takes one out. It's a burden. It just kills you, man. It kills it's literally like, um, I can't use that word. It's literally like indentured servitude that the government puts you under. And I called out on it. But what's worse is that because the schools are only really interested in collecting that money, and they've gotten so bad. The colleges are so poorly run. They're so, the teachers are all woke now. They're way more interested in talking about things that have nothing to do with the subjects they're teaching than the subjects they're teaching in a lot of cases. And so the guys, these guys are coming out of college and expected to go into the workforce with no fucking education how to do the damn job. So the employer then spends time, money, and resources training people that have just spent $100,000 on education. How fucked up is that? How seriously screwed up are we that this is where we're at? Where not only am I the taxpayer paying to train somebody, a business is paying to train somebody, and the government gets paid back, but that money never comes back to me. What the fuck, guys? What the hell? Actually, it's the banks get paid back. It's not the government, but we'll skip that. And so, politicians just asleep at the wheel, man. The politicians right now, today, the way the politicians act is nutso. I don't know about killing lobbyists, or not killing, or that was bad. I don't know about ending lobbyist programs. I don't know if they should be banned. I don't know. I kind of feel a need for it in some aspects, but I see at the federal level. I think maybe they should. Federal level, there should be no lobbyist, right? Like the at the federal level, those politicians should not be talking to a lobbyist that represents. A senator from Montana should not be getting lobbied by somebody from a firm in California for something that affects his state because they get money out of it. Okay, that's wrong. That's bad. That's evil. There's no good that comes out of that, and nobody can ever convince me that there is good that comes out of it. So so top level federal lobbying firms, they got to go, man. That's right, Strana. And look, I'm sorry, guys. I have not been. I've been remiss in putting and doing the chats. So, Strana M says the problem is no one lobbies for the average person. Absolutely right. Absolutely, and that's why they should be banned at the federal level, which would hopefully would put the lawmakers in the position of having to deal with their local communities to get elected. First of all, and none of that money should go. There should be um, no federal level politician, Congress, House of Representatives, none of them should be allowed to take funds from anyone outside their state. A company in New York should not be paying a Tennessee politician millions of dollars. This should not happen. This is what's fucked up about the system. They can track it. We all know that that this is easily enforceable or reasonably enforceable, and we all know that we all know why they won't do it. But this is what needs to happen. Now, at the state and local level, right? I could see the lobbyists at state and local level because those politicians are more likely to deal with the people in their states. Like I know where my district rep is. I can go drive over and to his office and sit down and talk to him about the problem. And he's in his office. My congressman is barely in his office. Book deals seem to be the most common payoff method these days. That is 100% correct. He goes straight to the head of the class. Book deals, speaking tours, all that nonsense. I don't know how we get rid of it. We need to get rid of it. So, and then and that kind of rolls me right into where I was going next, and that was the the politicians are so asleep at the wheels, and I thank Strana M for sending me this. And I've known about this for a while, but this was a really pointed argument about this, and that is the way. And I'm going to apply this not just to the issue that's in this article, which I will put in the description below in the future, and we'll get you to you'll be able to go to the video and watch it. But basically, in Pennsylvania, the government has decided that this guy Amos Miller, who's an Amish guy in an Amish community, he sells food. He grows and sells food. He's a farmer. It's what he does. Well, the Amish, for as long as anybody can remember, had kind of been outside the state controls on the FDA and all of that. And guys, I'm gonna have to stand by a second. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry guys. My I have guests, house guests, and they are completely inconsiderate. I'm sure we can all sympathize. All right, anyway, back to reality. Back to what I was doing. So this fellow Amos Miller, he's a really, he's apparently a really good farmer and kind of famous. And he's hated by the Pennsylvania government to the point that they are threatening to seize his land. There's literally jokes in public that local politicians have made about what they're going to do when they seize his farm. They have taken him to court multiple times. They keep losing, and basically their stance is that if it's on your shelf, they need to have approved it to be on your shelf in your home. So like, here in Tennessee, we have a lot of I buy from local farmers. I have a rancher down this not down the street, but pretty damn close to down the street who I buy beef from. And I know him, I know the cows. It's good beef. It's processed by an approved meat processor, meat packing plant or site, I guess. I buy my beef there. I'll buy some beef there. And as far as Tennessee is concerned, that's fine. I can do all I want. Same thing with corn. I don't, especially during the season, I don't buy corn from the grocery store very much, and I don't buy it from roadside stands. I'll just, I know people, and I'll say, hey, so and so, I want to stop by and pick up a bushel of corn or whatever. And we've been doing that as long as I can remember. My family's been doing that when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, it was because we were poor and we could go down and buy from farmers cheaper than we could buy in the store. It was just simpler, right? And oftentimes the farmers would have some, have leftover that was surplus to what the grocery stores were willing to buy, the processing plants were willing to buy, and they would sell that relatively cheap to anybody that was willing to drive out to farmland and pick it up. So I'm actually really familiar with this issue, but I just don't understand where this politician or where these politicians are getting off on trying to put this guy out of business and doing and like literally just going so hard at it, right? Like it's just such a big deal for them. So that's I can't believe that. I honestly can't. I think it's really interesting, but it's not just this one guy and his food. It is your gasoline. It is everything. The government is more and more in control of things that they should not have anything to do with. Agribusiness is massive, massive. And so this is how a lot of this works is someone like Bill Gates buys up, you know, 500,000 acres of farmland and he puts it all into a conglomerate that runs it. And so they get local farmers to work the land and they pay them. And then, they, and basically they run it like a factory, the food factory. And it costs money to do that. So the guy down the street who's working 100 acres, has him works it himself and he has another, maybe a one hired hand and maybe his kids, his wife, they all work this land. They can actually sell a little cheaper than agribusiness as long as they don't have to go through all of the hoops to sell in a store or something. So that's why you will see them selling at roadside stands and all that sort of thing. And the government is really trying to do away with that. I'm picking on food because it's something we all should be able to relate to. And it should be something that we all feel really pissed off about. Once your food supply is 100% under control, that's it. Game over. We're one step away. At that point, we're one step away from being 1960s, 1950s and 60s Russia, because look for the bread lines, baby. Just look for the bread lines. And everybody thinks that that's fake news, or that's I'm blowing this out of proportion, but I promise you that if anything, I'm downplaying it. You can't. There are think about it this way. There are no small gasoline companies anymore. There used to be hundreds of them. There are no more small brands of canned items, right? Just three huge ones. And most of those are actually owned by one company. You honestly don't even really know who owns the brand of stuff you're buying unless you dig into it, because it's covered under so many layers of business um, um, departments compartmentalizing. And that should really scare you. It should really scare you. And I mean, not in a way that you stay up at night thinking about it, but you should really think about it. And we really need to start voting in a very purposeful way and in a punishing way, so that the politicians get the news that this is not right. And we really need to educate our neighbors, our friends, even our enemies, that we're in a bit of a pickle, because we've given the politicians in Washington so much power that it's really pretty crazy. I mean, you look there, they've made fake meat legal. Think about that for a minute. Think about how, when my grandfather was growing up, if somebody had even suggested the idea of engineered meat, think about what would have happened. That would have been that would have been the craziest thing anybody had ever seen. It would have been absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, what can you do? What can you do? Well, I'll tell you what you can do. I'll tell you what you can do, actually. Buy from farmers, not just from the little farm stands or um, farmers markets, Traders Joe's. Don't look. Find out where the farms are in your area. Go meet a farmer. Talk to him. If you don't like him, buy his food. If you don't like him, he's not gonna be offended if you don't like him. I promise you. Farmers are hardy people. They're not gonna get mad at you. And you know, it's pretty interesting, right, guys? I mean, this is you wouldn't think that this is where we're at. I mean, honestly, I hadn't. I mean, like I said, the video is one thing, because I kind of I'd read about this, I'd heard this before. It was not news by any stretch. Um, it's pretty tough, man. It's pretty tough. And I mean, the corruption, it's crazy right now. All the stuff that Candace talked about in the thing with Destiny. I mean, think about it. Think about it for a minute. How crazy it sounds, but how realistic it is, and what's really coming out. All right, you got to be unreasonable. We have to stop being reasonable. We have to stop making bad choices. You know, I don't know any other way to say it. It's and look, I'm not even saying left versus look, and one thing you've noticed probably is I'm not talking about left versus right, conservative versus Democrat or whatever. I will say that I think socialism in any form uh needs to die. And I really don't believe in social programs. But um but I'm not even talking about left, right, middle, whatever. I'm talking about just right and fucking wrong. I mean, you can't, there's no way you can convince me that anyone believes it's a good idea for a bunch of officials that have never grown anything in their life, have never worked the ground, who have no idea what it takes to feed people, but they're the ones that are passing laws that they know nothing about, that they just signed because somebody paid them to sign them. And that's what it boils down to. And people call me a conspiracy theory. Yeah. People will say I am a conspiracy theorist for saying that. The reality is I'm not. I'm actually anti-conspiracy theory. I try and debunk those all the time. But this is real shit. This is the real deal, man. This is no lie. This is no lie. I've watched the gasoline price fixing. I've watched this all my life. I've watched, and it doesn't matter left, right, center. It doesn't matter. Once at the top level, once they're there, that's it. That's it, man. It's just it. And what they're doing then is they're just making the best deal for them. How is it, you wonder, that a guy goes in to office owing 280 grand because that's what it took out of his pocket to win his election, even with all the money that he was able to raise, whatever fundraising he did? How is it that a guy that goes into Congress in debt comes out a year later $2 million ahead? Fucking corruption. Okay. There's no other answer. You can't say, well, he was a good guy and somebody just patted him on the back and gave him $1 million. Bullshit. I've never patted anybody on the back and given them $1 million. That just doesn't fucking happen. I'm just telling you right now. Somebody gives you $1 million, they want something for it. Okay. They want something for it and they get it. Okay. Or you get Epsteined. Just saying. It's what happens. And between all of the big industry, which I'm a fan of big industry, but between all of the big industry right now being able to run roughshod over Congress and into the Oval Office and just write down what they want and it gets done, we're in trouble. I mean, we're in trouble. And again, I'm not calling out a Democrat or a Republican or either one of them. I'm just telling you that they're all the same beast because it has nothing to do with their politics and everything to do with their wallet. If they voted on their politics, things would be different. I promise you 100%. 100%. But that shit's not happening right now. It's not. It's just not. And I got to get off of politics here, man, because man, I go to a dark. I told you, man, we're going dark. We got darkness ahead. I go to a dark place when it comes to politics, because as much as we kind of keep pulling back from the brink, but we stay right there, fucking on it, man. I gotta get off politics, man. I'm gonna get dark. I'm gonna get real dark. So let's talk about dating and relationships, right? I want to talk about friends. We talked about friends a little bit the last show. I've talked about friends many times before. I want to kind of go through it again because it constantly comes up that women believe that they can have male friends, and men believe that they can constantly believe that they can have female friends and it doesn't affect their relationship at all, that everything's cool. And I think men know that they're fucking lying to themselves, right? I think men know and they do something about it, right? Like if they actually really love their wife or girlfriend, the first thing they do when they get a wife or girlfriend, the first thing they do is they get rid of all their girlfriends, right? All of their friends that are girls. And chicks don't do that. They just don't. I mean, they want to, maybe, I don't know, but they won't because it's too. And there's two sides of this coin, and I don't know that Brian's had the balls to say this publicly. And matter of fact, I don't know how many people have had the balls to say this publicly, but the number one reason is because the chicks want to have that security blanket because they know that dude wants them. And so if the dude, if they're dating this, um, you know, Chad, Hottie, whatever. I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to call him. They're dating that guy, but maybe he's going to cheat on them, or maybe they don't like him because he's a Chad. He looks good, but nothing up here. Whatever. Maybe they want to keep that guy there just to be the parachute when they bail out. And don't be a parachute, dudes. I mean, come on, man. Look at yourselves in the mirror. Look at, have some self-respect. Think about yourself on a daily basis about how badass you really are because you're a dude. I mean, the fuck's wrong with you? Don't let some chick use you as a backpack parachute. So when she, feels like she needs to pull a ripcord on whatever fucked up relationship she's gotten herself into, you're there. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. It's fucked up, man. Don't do that. But but so men will do it too. Men will hang out because they think that they have a chance to have sex with her, and maybe they can. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to discount anything. I think things happen. They're friends with bennies, right? That happens. That's a real thing. But I don't think you should count on it. And especially if you're in a relationship with somebody. If you or that girl is in a relationship with somebody, dude, you got to rip it off like a band-aid and move the fuck on. Just telling you right now. Strana AB says you can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. That is fucking awesome. I may have to write that down. That's great. And it's true. You can't, there's if they go into it just out of emotion or out of, some misplaced sense of trust and not reason, and they didn't really think it through, you cannot talk them down off that ledge. They're just fucked. Strana M, I saw a poll. I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is good. So Strana says, I saw a poll that 50% of married women have a backup guy and 70% of non-married women have a backup guy. That's a lot of fucking parachutes, dude. That's a lot of fucking parachutes, right? I mean, what? I mean, that's a lot of damn parachutes. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Do not fucking be that guy. I got to put this up here. This is what you get when you're late, Jess. That's what you get for being late. Don't be late. I told you what time we start. Rye Guy, I agree with you. Or with you. By the way, Rye Guy is the guy who did my intro, and man, he killed it. He knocked it out of the park. I love that thing. I'll literally just sit there and put it on. It's freaking awesome. So I agree with you. I think women can have male coworkers, acquaintances, and other couples they are friends with, but other than that, almost always an ulterior motive at play. And I will add on both sides. Guarantee you, on both sides, I'm just telling you. It's just the way it is. And I keep saying it over and over. The funny thing is that like this is the third or fourth time I've had this discussion, and everybody's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're right. I'm like, I promise you it's right. Love that comment, AB. Giving you some love there, buddy. All right. Where are these backup guys coming from? There we go. Drop a pin. No, Jess, you have to show up on time to get pins. I'm kidding. The backup guys come because they actually talk, girls actually talk to dudes. If you don't talk to dudes, you're probably not going to get any dates, and you're not going to get any friends that might turn into dates. Yeah, friend zones or exes. That's right. You had Jess hates her ex, and I don't know that she has any friend zones right now because she doesn't get you. If you have to have somebody there to friend zone them to start with, and not being unnecessarily mean to Jess. This is all in fun. Don't come at me too hard. It's okay. You can come at me. All right. So where was I? Oh yeah. The friends with Benny thing. But the real thing that I find is that, And I think this is insidious. And I have women all the time tell me that I am wrong. I literally talked to a friend of my wife's about 6 months ago, maybe a year. I don't know. I don't keep track of time that way. So I'm talking to this young lady. I assume she's young. I don't know. So I'm talking to her about, and you guys know my style. I'm slightly sarcastic. And we start talking about, her dating. She was dating like two or three guys, couldn't make a decision, all the normal young girl stuff, right? And I'm like, well, that's interesting, that's cool. And then she said, well, my ex, um, he became my ex because the guy I broke up with before him, I just didn't like him anymore, and I just went with the other guy. I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty normal. Everything's like normal so far. But the entire reason that she went with went away from, so she was dating a guy that was truly single. He was truly single. She was dating him. Good relationship. I assume good relationship. I didn't dive into it. I mean, look, I mean, this wasn't like a 60 minutes interview or anything. It's just talking while I was waiting on my wife to get done with something. And I don't know why she even opened up to me. I have that kind of face. People tell me stuff. I don't know why. So the dude that she broke up, so the one guy she's dating, he was truly single. They were dating each other. They were now a couple. The other guy is in a relationship. She's pretending to be this guy's friend. The minute she sees an opening, guarantee this is what happened because I could just read between the lines. The minute there was an opening, she swooped in there to take that dude away from the other girl and ruin the relationship that she was in. And at that moment, that's when I decided that women are vile creatures. Actually, I decided that a long time ago, but I reminded myself that women are vile creatures sometimes. I mean, vile is absolutely wrong to do that. And I've actually since then, well, about the past 6 months or so, I've been watching whatever. We've been watching other podcasts, and this seems to be a really common theme that women who are in reasonably good relationships with truly honest men, that there's nothing wrong with that relationship, will leave that guy that they can have a real relationship with to steal some other woman's guy that now she knows that he's a cheater now. Yeah, how can you trust that guy? I mean, how badly can you mind fuck yourself, girls? What is wrong with you? What is wrong that you can't just be fucking happy? What is that? I mean, anyone? Bueller? You out there? Because fuck, this is fucked up, man. And I've heard it over and over again. I just don't understand it. I don't know if it's like a Kardashian thing because I don't know anything about the Kardashians other than they're fucking walking evil. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what Strana M says. Well, actually, let me show this. Yes, Jess, I am the best to banter with. And if you can't decide, then none are the one. They're just there for something to do while they find the one. That a lot of truth there too. That's actually really accurate. That is very, very accurate. But I don't understand why women go after men in relationships. If anybody can explain that one to me, you probably ought to be on the fucking space program and get us back to Mars or wherever the fuck we need to go, because that's some high tech shit right there. Yeah. All right. I don't know. What's wrong with you? What? I'd say who hurts you, but you're the one doing the hurting. I mean, what the fuck? Oh. By the way, because somebody asked, this is not alcohol. This is water. It's water, my kids. I mean, man, you guys brutal. They didn't ask this strand. Somebody sent me a private message because I don't know if I've made this really public, but I do not drink. I've never drank. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. I've never gambled. I'm a pretty boring. I'm really a boring dude. But somebody's like, weren't you drinking alcohol? I saw that tall boy. And I was like, it's fucking water, dude. Chill. All right. There we go. There we go. Bam. Sense competition. Like trying to be the most desirable of all women in their social circle, probably. Some truth to that. Let's do this one. Sense of security and better mate selection. If another woman is with him, he must have something. That right there, Jared, top of the class. I honestly do believe that. I honestly do believe that. But this one's got it. There we go. Stranded, dude, you were killing it, man. Many women have no idea what a good guy is, and that is fucking true. We're going to talk about that in a minute. They are looking at other women to figure it out, except those they look at are just as messed up as they are. That's right. That is right. That is as a super intelligent thing to say. Some women never get turned down to sleep with, and it's a challenge to get a married man to want to, even if they don't go through with it. Yes, I've seen that. I have not experienced it, obviously, but I mean, other than the flirting. But I actually, I know divorced men who literally told me after the divorce, they're like, I have no fucking clue why I fucked that chick because I didn't even really want her. Like, it kind of came at me and, started thinking with the dick. Don't think with your dick too often. But so many women have no idea what a good guy is. And it's getting worse because now we have all these red pill fuckers going around telling women what they should expect in a man, and you have blue pill guys saying, no, you're fucking wrong about that. That's wrong. You need a beta guy. You need a guy who's understanding and in touch with his feelings, and let's, you fuck other women, whatever. I don't know, but um I really honestly believe that the majority of women today have no fucking clue what a good man is. And I say this all the time. I've actually posted it several times. It's this little thing that I came up with is where have all the good men gone? To somebody that wanted them, deserved them, and treated them right. Good men don't have any time to spend with bad women. They just don't. The really good ones understand they're good men and they move on very quickly. But it wouldn't matter anyway because most women, and unfortunately, they'll never hear this speech, that I'm giving now. They'll never, I'm never going to have a platform that's big enough to reach these people. Hopefully, guys like Brian and some others can tone down the disrespect a little bit and have real conversations about it. But one of the things, man, is honest. I do not believe at all that modern women know what a good man really is. And it's pretty sad. It's really sad, actually. You know, um, and I'm not saying that obviously my generation was just as fucked up, man. I'm super Gen X, like I mean, just look at the hair, dude. Just just look at the hair. Not mine. Mine was cool, but fuck. All you gotta do is look at Motley Crue back in like 80 something and you figure it all out like right then. Like those motherfuckers were on crack. Literally. Hmm. All right. Yeah, I mean, what do we think makes a good man? Realistically, right? Like honesty, trustworthiness, sense of respect, a sense of duty and responsibility. Um and all of that. What what do we think? What do we think a good man is today? I think a good man is somebody that can actually tell the truth and be mean if they have to just say, "Hey, um, it's not this is not what I want. I do not accept this and you are not my supervisor." I ca I joke, I'm joking, I'm joking. Um, yeah, um, it's very interesting, um, I think, the what is a good man? I really feel like too that and I really wish I had more females in the audience, I don't, and I don't have Josie here either, you know? You kinda have to wonder, do women even want to know what a good man is? You know? Do they even I mean, even if they knew what it was, would they want it? Probably not. I don't know. Interesting stuff, man. I'm a little spicy tonight. you know, I had a little angst going on with a bunch, you know, a bunch of this stuff that's been going on lately. Um, you know, I don't know. Yeah, Jess, tell us what is a good man from your perspective? Pull your weight, Jess. Come on, help us out. I mean, I know what I was taught, you know, to be a good man. But what are you know, I see the thing is I don't even know that women are taught anything about what a good man is or what they should expect. And I actually think that they're taught that there are no good men. Could the argument be made? Could it be accurately made that modern women, and I'm saying modern, you know, so Gen um Y, millennial, whatever. Could the argument safely be made and probably accurately made that women are actually taught that there's no such thing as good men? That not only are there no such thing as good men, but even if there were, they don't need them anyway. And so they why bother even learning about them? Why bother learning about what you should expect out of the man that you want to marry one day, or maybe just, you know, maybe the expectation is just don't get married. You know, is this where we're at? I don't think we are 100%, but you know, I've watched enough of these podcasts. I've listened to enough um, shows now to really have doubt that, and actually, it's less doubt. I doubt that there are women out there like that. I believe not wholeheartedly, but I believe very strongly that women today are being taught from an early age they don't need men, and that it doesn't matter what a man wants, it doesn't matter what a man needs, it doesn't matter what a man is, it doesn't matter his character. As long as he's good in bed, what do you care? You're a woman. Go get your bag, baby. You tough. Mm, look at that ass. Is that really where it's at? Is it? I mean, it kind of seems that way, right? Because I mean, obviously, when the girls are on these podcasts, like whatever, or Fresh and Fit, which I don't actually watch, or you know, in these when like Destiny does his student, you know, sits at a college with a table and asks students to participate. When they do that, I really don't I really don't think that these women are honest about it. I think that they say, "Oh yeah, I want this, I want that," but in the back of their minds, they're going, I don't give a, I really don't care because it doesn't matter because I'm woman. Hear me roar. It doesn't matter what the man is. He's going to be what I say. He's going to do what I want because I'm going to get my bag. I'm a bad bitch. I'm a boss bitch. I'm a babe. What do you think about that? Could that be accurately argued that that's where we're at now? Which leaves a whole generation of men who are being taught by their dads because honestly, men right now are not nearly as fucked up, to be honest. Because dads have decided to get involved with young men again. Dads are feeling not the pressure, but they're feeling the pride of being a dad. And so, like all the dads I know, man, they're badass. I mean, and there's one or two that are teaching their kids kind of fucked up stuff, but for the most part, man, I mean, dads are killing it, man. And of course, they're getting stabbed in the back by the moms, but in some cases, but I don't know, man. What do you think? The pinnacle of okay, this has got to go up. This has got to go up. Where'd it go? There it is. Look at that. AC coming in with a dunk. The pinnacle of boss babe was Jada Pinkett Smith, and look what she did to her family. Yes, absolutely. She don't need no Will Smith. Will Smith ain't nothing to her. No. She bad, and she was. She really was. She is bad ass, baby. I feel like leaving that one up there. I'm not gonna leave that up there. That's bad. I won't do that. But yeah, I mean, isn't that right though? I mean, what do we think? I mean, it's kind of depressing, right? When you think about it. Because on the one side, you have men that are training young men to be young men. There's a lot of emphasis spent now, and has always been there for men to be proper, polite, dress reasonably well, not be a bum, go get a job. Again, the value of a man is always how well he works, how much he works, um, how he can provide, the safety he can provide. That's always been the value of a man, and that hasn't changed at all. As a matter of fact, men are stepping in and showing their kids, especially their sons, how to go out and be men. Now, granted, a large part of that is because you have a bunch of military men. A large percentage of the men in our society have served overseas, and they come back and they've seen what happens to these men when they lose their way. So they want to make sure that their kids do not lose their way, and I think that that's had a lot to do with it. But on the other side of that, um, the women have not. So it's like the men kind of had to level up a little bit. They had to. They didn't have any choice. The women have just kind of stayed where they're at, or maybe even sunk a little lower, because the whole time these men are over in a war zone, fighting a war and being learning hard lessons. And even the guys that stayed here, they're out there working, they're doing stuff. It seems like what the women are learning is Kim Kardashian, what is that fucking show in Atlanta? Um, that doesn't fucking matter. Housewives of Atlanta, maybe, I don't know. But all of these shows that women watch that are totally geared towards denigrating men and telling women that they don't need no man. So it seems like we have two things at opposite ends of the spectrum, and that are kind of repellent to each other. What do we think about that? Does anybody have any comments about that? Anybody have any thoughts or anything about that they kind of want to share? Because that would be interesting, I think. Um, I kind of feel that Will Smith thing that slaps. That slaps hard, man. That was fucking brutal. Nobody? Everybody go to sleep? Anybody? Nothing? All right, that's fine. I'll move on. All right, so I've kind of, what can we do to help women? Well, I don't know. First of all, I'm married, so I'm not even in the dating pool to be out there in the trenches with you dudes. Um, I do talk to women a lot, in various roles. Usually as some kind of, now I used to be a boss. Now, I used to have employees. I used to talk to people as their boss. And now um, I only reach people through media like this or in just um, uh, just relative, you know, conversations throughout the day. I don't know. I don't know that I can do a lot more than I do, but we really do need to. What can we do to as men? What can men do realistically without being dicks any more than necessary to kind of fix the problem? Lucky. Okay, this one's good. I'm putting this up there. That's right. That right there is right. Young people look to messed up celebrities for role models instead of family members. Some of that can be put on the parents. No, all of that is put on the parents. I don't let my kid watch TV I don't agree with. He's too young. When he's 18, he can have his own fucking opinion. When he can buy his own TV set, he can then buy his own opinion. Until then, no, no. Now, I say that, but he has the internet. He can see things. I don't control. I have near total control. I do not have total control, but I hope that I have trained him well enough that he is he is very comfortable in himself and can make good decisions. That's what I can do. Um, as men in the um, out in the wild trying to help women, I don't know that we can do anything. Unfortunately, the media is not getting any better. I mean, we've all seen what's happened with Marvel, which was just the best franchise ever, more hit movies than anything, and then just just throw that shit away. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that young men. I don't know that young men can do anything. I think that men in the older age in the upper age brackets, in the 20s and their 30s, I think they can influence young men and young women to some degree to kind of change their ways. They need those positive role models. I used to think that women naturally wanted role models and sought out people to teach them how to be better in relationships and teach them how to be better in various roles. And now I don't believe that anymore. I wish I did. Um, Unfortunately, with the decline in church attendance and the decline um, in interaction, it's changed so much. It's just really changed so much that you can't get past it. Unfortunately, now as it really seems like that the new generation, my son's generation, it seems like all of the girls that he that are in his generation locally at least, they're all pretty based. I mean, they're got a couple of them that are you know, but most of them are pretty based. Now, of course, they're like 14, 13, whatever. So they're just getting to that age where they're about to become delinquents. Um, but we'll see. We'll see if they can stay the course. I do think that families have learned, at least small families have learned that to limit the amount of negative media that people see. Um, yeah, Gen Alpha doesn't seem to like all the woke stuff. I mean, my son does not like woke stuff. Like he looks at it and he's like, that's nuts. So this one's good. I'm going to put this up here and I'll make a comment about my son. So my son, his whole life, and I did not do this to him at all. I did not. a matter of fact, I actually tried to kind of limit it, but he has this thing about World War I and World War II, and he used to be big into the Civil War too. And I mean, he could name the battles, he could name the battlefields, all the weapons, everything. And I mean, it's still at the point where he will sit. We were watching Pearl Harbor one night, and he's like, "They're killing our boys, Dad. They're killing our boys." And I'm like, "It's a movie, dude. Calm down. It's okay. It's all right." And but he really takes patriotism and loyalty and all of that to like a high degree, and it's very, his teachers comment on it. He stands at attention, and I mean attention, when they sing the anthem and pledge allegiance. I mean, he stands at attention, like crazy town. So I do have a lot of hope for the current generation, Gen Alpha, Gen whatever. Um, my son's generation. I really do have a lot of hope for those guys, but we have this lot, a couple of lost generations here where this just gonna be miserable for them, and nothing I can do about it. I really feel for guys that are in most of your age range, where you're out in the dating marketplace and in the dating pool, and it's just psychotic and crazy out there. It's I think it's bad enough being a woman in all of this. I think it's possibly worse being a man, because you can be accused of anything. Like I had to tell my son. I told my son when he turned 11. I said, look, I don't, this is gonna sound really weird, but you do not trust little girls. All right, you're never alone with them. You don't touch them. If you can avoid it, don't play with them. Just leave them the hell alone, because they will lie and ruin your life. And we actually had kind of an incident, and he got very fortunate that it wasn't a big deal, but it showed him exactly how evil little girls can be, and he learned a hard lesson, and I think all of his friends kind of learned that lesson vicariously through him. So we'll see. I don't know, but yeah. But the whole thing about wokeness in school, that's a real thing, dude. I don't care where you're at. Like, my kid's daycare, which it's fucking daycare. He's 3 years old and they're celebrating Black History Month. Like, why? Why the fuck are you doing that? That's dumb. They're 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 1-year-olds. Why are you doing that? They actually had, during Pride Month, they had all of the rainbow stuff, and they wanted the kids to come dressed in like rainbow colors and stuff, and I'm like, no, not only no, but fuck no, we're not doing that. And I think a lot of parents did that. I didn't see it very much, so maybe the other parents responded as negatively as I did. Um, so let's see. This is good. There we go. Let's look at this. What happened with that critical race theory courses that were causing some controversy a couple of years ago? They still exist. I know that they're in some colleges still. And it's a really, I don't know if you've read it. And I know, AC, I know that you're in Canada, so it may not be something that is prevalent up there as much, but it's really, I mean, the basis of the course is, pardon me, the basis of the course is that white people bad and we're all slavers. Can I say that? I mean, I just did. We're all bad, and the only reason that the United States exists is because we did bad things to specific groups. and which is patently false. Like it's it's crazy. It's patent. I mean, it's incredibly bad in every aspect. It's bad history. It's bad um, from a scholarly standpoint, and it's just bad. Strana M. I think it started as a college law school course. So I actually thought, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a Destiny in Google. You guys can whine about it later. Let's see. Not that I will find the truth. I'll find whatever the Matrix wants me to know. Um, um, let's see what we get. Let's see. So I got to wade through a bunch of stuff here. Right. So the actual, I don't know what the actual thing is, but what seems to be the bottom line is that CRT was based around a uh, lawyer, a civil rights lawyer, and he basically said that since he did all these civil rights cases, that he would, that they had uh, they all had the same thing in common. So he wrote a theory. He wrote a briefing about it that ended up becoming some kind of guideline that they used. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I didn't read the whole thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Basically, it was kind of nuts. But yeah, they were teaching all of this stuff to um, this. It started off as like a college law course where it was all, you could take it if you wanted to, just filled an elective slot. And then it kind of picked up steam. It became something that was taught in government offices, and it's been a real mess. And I don't know if they still teach it, but I do know that here. Okay, so here's the thing: they could still teach it in California. I wouldn't know because I don't go there. Hi, Tiny Tunes. Glad you finally made it. Um, good seeing you there. You missed out. You can watch it back a little later. I really had a lot to say about the male female relationships. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all. I mean, I think school today, kind of back where we started, but I think that school today, especially college, I see. I think, well, I think all school today is fucked. Let me just put that out there. I think that well, obviously, I don't know if you guys really know my theory behind all of this, but I've said multiple times, public school was started to provide workers, and it was designed from the word go to suppress individual thought and ideas of freedom as much as possible because they need, it was basically school is set up like a factory job for a reason. Okay. And I prefer the Socratic method. So you understand it way back in history, even in this country, almost all learning was through the Socratic method. Okay. Which meant that you basically argued with each other. And to prepare for those arguments, you would go research the subject. So you'd start with an idea, right? Like, women are stupid. Somebody's going to clip that and make me look like a fucking idiot. But just start with an argument. Well, women are really smart. You start with an argument. Women are like way smarter than men. Okay. Then you would go research that. And then you would talk to your entire group in your class about it. And they would challenge you with questions and you would have to defend it. So somebody you would say, women are really smart, and here's why. And somebody else would say, okay, why do you believe that? And you would have to defend that. And to be able to defend it, you had to understand the nature of your of the thing. And it works in almost every type and almost in everything. And it makes people think. It forces you to think and think critically. The idea of critical thinking was never a thing because the way that you learned to start out with was all critical thinking. And the Socratic method, because of that, it really pushes the idea of free thought, questioning, what people tell you, and devoting time to specific studies so that um, so that you knew the subject that you were talking about. Right. I'm gonna got a little. My nose is running a little bit. Sorry on stream there. Um, so when you're talking about you know the way that we learn now, I have heard of Steven Crowder. I have. Should I? Is there a joke there? I'm going to put you up on the screen just for that. Um, so at the he interrupted me. Socratic method, learning best way. Um, yeah, that's a right. That is actually the way that Crowder operates is the Socratic method. He posits a question and you need to be able to defend or you need to be able to argue both sides of it. And that is the basis of the Socratic method because when you learn something, it's not that you learn just the thing, you had to learn the thing and the oh no dude. Hey, Aaron, no worries, man. Absolutely. No, you made me think of something. That was awesome. I really, yes, I have heard. I mean, it's funny, but anyway, no, dude, you're great, man. Because what Crowder does is an excellent example of the Socratic method. If you posit that all women are smart, you have to be able to defend that they are, and you have to be able to defend that they aren't. You have to have both sides of the argument down, and that makes you really learn something and you really understand it. And so you become proficient in multiple things. And that's the way most of the higher learning happened in this country. As a result of that, you tend to be you tend to be very detail oriented, and you really tend to be uh, very inquisitive. You could go with unruly, right? You could say you're unruly. I don't know, maybe. But at the end of the day, what you're really talking about is that you really know what you're talking about. Rockefeller and his gang of robber baron buddies who needed workers for their factories looked around and said, "This is not good, not good at all." Because people that have creative thought and free thinking are less likely to come want to work a 9 to 5 job, which back then it wasn't 9 to 5. That was a one thing. They're just not going to want to work these factory jobs, and they're not going to be happy. So this is like the earliest idea of how this is the Wachowski brothers could have written the Matrix off of this alone because this is the Matrix happening in real time. So Rockefeller literally sent out a bunch of people to study things, and what he was specifically looking for is who had the best system of learning that would build better workers, better factory workers. That's what that was his end goal. And they settled on the Prussian model. And this is all history. This is not I'm not bullshitting here. I'm not making stuff up. I'm not throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. This is actual fucking history. You can go read it for yourself. Now, people have different interpretations of why he did it, but the reality of what happened is this is what happened. So Rockefeller and his robber baron buddies, They need workers. They settle on the Prussian method. The Prussian method at that time was considered to produce the finest, most obedient um, soldiers in the world. And the reason for that is from the very earliest age, they dressed in uniforms. They went to school. They went from home to school, and they were there all day, or training in the Prussian method. But so you go from home to class. You're told where to go every minute of the day. You're not allowed to deviate from that. You are told what to learn, how to learn it. You're giving examples of how to learn it. So everything is compartmentalized. Everything that you do is rote. There's no free thinking. There's no free will. It's rote. You just do it. Pavlovian. And that continues through, up through high school. And so what that does is that gets you used to the idea of punching a time clock. It gets you okay with being gone 8 hours a day. Or at that time, it was probably closer to 10, but it gets you in your mind. You don't think of this as unusual anymore. You think of this as very normal. And so the idea of not working, before all of this, before Rockefeller decided to do this, the the typical people worked on farms or they built things. And so they had, they would work 3 or 4 months really, really hard, and then they'd have a couple of months off, and they would learn to play music, and they learned how to, their art was really good, and that, they built things, they would build a kayak or a canoe during the off season, whatever. And the creativity was at a very high. The creativity was really high because of what. And Rockefeller spent something like in like $1908 or whenever it was. He spent something like 180 million, which is like $1 billion today, establishing the first public school system. And it was more, and he did it all over the place, and it was really interesting. This is all fact. Now, I could be wrong about the amount of money that he invested in doing this, but he built the public school system specifically to provide better workers and to remove them from the home so that the mom could eventually start working as well. People think that women did not work in factories until World War II, and that is wrong. That's absolutely wrong. There were women working in factories as early as midnight, not like 1900, 1902, 1903. So it's wrong that people think that. We're led to believe that because feminists like to say that, what is it? Rosie the Riveter, right? I don't know why my nose is running. But Rosie the Riveter, World War II. That's when women became empowered in the factories, and that's not true. They were not empowered at all because they had to go to work. When they were staying at home, they were happy teaching and training their kids and taking care of their families. They didn't have to do that. But if you go back far enough, if you look into the early factories, women worked in them just like men did. Now, not as many, okay, not as many, but they did. And and that's just the way of it. And it's always been that way. And the only way that they could make that happen was to come up with something that somehow to take care of the kids to free up the moms, and that's how we got the public school system. So the long and short of it is these things are all plans to manipulate large segments of society, and it happens every day. So I think that the best thing for most people is to educate themselves. Teach yourself what the world really is. Teach everybody what teach yourself and then show somebody else. And I'm going to kind of move away from the school thing now. I don't know. Maybe I put everyone to sleep. I think I may have hurt Aaron's feelings. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. Uh, and let's see. We've been on almost 2 hours. All right, we're gonna start winding this down here. I want to talk a little bit about some money stuff because I think that um, I had intended to talk. I've intended the last few episodes to talk more money stuff, but with host or with another host and guest, it kind of gets it gets hard to do that. So let's talk about for a minute where the market really is right now. Who's hurt? I'm sorry. What? I don't know. Maybe I hurt his feelings. I'm going to put that up there. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did to hurt you, man. You're going to have to comment and tell me what I did to hurt you. Um, so the I don't know where people think the market is right now. I'm going to tell you where I see the market, and you don't have to agree with me. Always, 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 no matter what somebody tells you about what the market is doing, um, make sure that you're make sure that you're making your own decisions. But I'm going to talk about the real estate market for a minute, and I'm going to talk about why. Somebody was talking about buying a house soon, and they were waiting patiently to do so. I think that that's a great move. If you watch, all the real estate prices everywhere in the country are dropping. I think 3 or 4 episodes ago, I talked about how something like 30, I think it's 32% of homes currently are negative equity, which means that people owe way more than the house is worth. And that's only going to get worse. Locally, for example, there's a property I've been looking at. It's like 17 or 18 acres, something like that, and in a small town. Realistically, it should be about $5,000 an acre. They're wanting, I think they wanted 20, and now I think they're at like 20 or 20 or 15, something like that, which is still too high, but it's drifting back down to more reasonable. And the reason that happened, if you're wondering why the market is where it is back during the thing that we can't talk about called COVID and the pandemic that we can't talk about. Um, what happened is you had a lot of people who initially sold off because they were scared to death that the economy was going to collapse. So they were selling off houses just crazy. And they had realtors that were telling them, well, pricing's really good, but we don't know where it's going to go. Could go up, could go down, and it's looking like it's trending down. So a lot of people sold either on that hump or when it started down. Now, that hump was kind of artificial anyway. The decline was even more artificial. So then it started coming back up, and it went way up because of a couple of things. First, the interest rate was really low, and people were getting money from the government for doing nothing. And then it started to come back big time, and everything was worth more than what it was supposed to be. Like trucks were going, trucks that should be $20,000 were going for 45 or 50 grand. Brand new, you couldn't buy a brand new truck off the lot hardly. And people were buying 2, 3 years old trucks that they should not pay that much for. They're paying like 75 grand for them. And the problem is not what they're paying for. I really don't. It really doesn't make a fuck what you pay for something as long as you can afford it. The what the problem is every single time that people don't understand math isn't taught properly anymore is the interest rate and the terms. Don't understand how people don't understand this. It's so straightforward and simple, and people ignore it. So what people did during the pandemic that we can't talk about and is they had a lot of free time, and the banks were willing to loan, and the interest rate was pretty low. So what they would do is like people were actually shopping a payment, not what they could afford. Okay, not what reality was. And a lot of people didn't have very good credit, so they ended up buying on ARM loans, which means they have a very, they have like 6 years or whatever at fixed rate, and then it goes up to whatever the current interest is, which a lot of those are coming due right now. It's going to be bad. It's going to get really bad. So let's say that you're, I'm going to pick on Tiny Toons. So let's say Tiny Toons and her boy Kaz, they want to go buy a house. Now, the way that most people should buy a house is how much can I afford, right? Not the payment, but how much of the house can I afford? Can I afford 5 years at $1,500, $2,000 a month? If you can, great. If you're going to do, and you need to have your credit in order and all of this stuff, but a lot of people didn't. So let's just say that Tiny Toons goes out with her boyfriend, and they're going to buy a house, and they buy a house, but instead of buying a house that they can afford with a 15-year, which is preferred, or a 30-year, which is just okay, they get talked by the bank into a 40-year loan. Well, this is nuts. It's insane. It's crazy. But what they do is they get their payment down, right? So now they feel like they can afford more house, and they buy more house. So instead of buying a $300,000 house, they buy a $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000 house. They don't care because the payment they're making is they feel like they can live with. However, 3 years in, like right about now, the ARM kicks in, and instead of being 2.25%, which is what they got the first loan under, it now goes to whatever prime is, if you can get prime, which is I think prime today is like 6.25%, 7%, and that's fucking high. I don't think people realize how high that is. 1 point over the course of a loan is like $100,000 on most loans. It could be $150,000 on big loans. So you're not talking about a $5,000 or $10,000. You're not talking about a couple of $1,000 difference. You're talking about $100,000 to $200,000 over the course of the loan, and that's crazy. It's crazy. Don't do that. It's bad. So if you're going to buy a house, because it's about to be house buying time, looking at you, Aaron. Hang on, I'm going to put this up here just so I don't forget it. If you did for if you are going to buy a house, which I think we're getting really close to when it's going to buy a house. Conditions are a little different. Strana's, the crash was bad loans and foreclosures. The tactics they're using right now, very interesting, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'll get back to that. If you're going to go buy a house, Tiny Toons, I hope you're listening. If you're going to go buy a house now, Aaron, listen to this. If you're going to go buy a house right now, don't. If you can, I beg of you, move into a 1-bedroom apartment, the cheapest that you can reasonably live in, and stack your cash. I mean, stack it to the ceiling in a bank somewhere, earning, go put it in a CD for the next 2 years, earning 6% interest or 4% or whatever the fuck you can get. Goldman Sachs, I think, has one that's 2 year or 3 years. I think it's guaranteed 4 or 5%. Do it. Fucking do it. Just put it in a CD, put it in something, and just every month, man, just front load that money in. And the reason for that is really simple. Our market's in a slide. It's been in a slide for a year and a half. people have been talking about and are still today. I guarantee you, if you call a realtor today, they will tell you that you need to buy today because the market's only going up. Yeah, it's leveled off, but it's going to keep going up. And they're full of shit. Okay. Our market's about to fucking crash and it's going to be bad. It's going to get fucking ugly. I mean, ugly, ugly. So don't buy now if you can avoid it. Now, if you have to, do what you got to do. If you can wait, fucking wait. Um, the if you're not if you can just put money away, man, I'm telling you, just do it because in about a year from now, maybe a year and a half, the interest rates are going to start correcting. But all of these houses that are underwater right now, right? Like they're all negative equity. They're not going to be able to refinance. You can't refinance when you're negative equity. Okay. You just no bank's going to do it. Also, I talked to my mortgage broker the other day, and she told me point blank that it is rare to have somebody making their payments on time. Do you understand what that really means? That means that of the loans that she sees, the majority of them are paying late fees and they're ruining their credit. Now, the second thing I'm going to tell you is I don't care what you have to do, you do not have any bill any bill more than 30 days late. That 30 to 45 days late thing is a fucking killer. It hits your credit, and once you have bad credit, you are fucked. You are absolutely fucked. And I'm not talking about having just kind of like low credit or whatever, because that I'm talking about if you have bad credit, if you're below 650 or 680, something like that. If you get below that, you can actually be below that just because you don't use credit that much. But if it starts going down and you have anything, you can have a 680 credit score and just not have, like, you just don't use credit that much, right? Like you have $1,000 credit card that you pay off every month, and that you'll never gain credit that way, really. Um, but you know, when a bank looks at it, what they're really looking for is a if you have any kind of loan, especially a mortgage or car loan, although those are weighed differently. If you have a mortgage, especially, never let a mortgage payment or a rent payment get 30 days behind. Just don't fucking do it. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if you have to eat ramen for a month. Do not get behind right now, because as the market starts to correct down, and it is already correcting down and it's going to continue to correct down, that's lingo for crash. You're going to see houses come available at reasonable prices with our interest rate should start sliding back down, especially as we get closer to the election. And probably in a year and a half, what we're going to really see is um, what we should see is we're going to see a return. And I don't know if it will get back into that 2.5% where we were, but I could see 3.5%. And I'm telling you, every 0.5% you can save over the course of a mortgage can be $100,000. It'll be at least be 50. So just do the best you can. Get the lowest rate you can. Work with your banker. Buy your way into a lower rate if you can. Whatever you can do. If you're going to buy a house, Aaron, I hope you're listening to me. You're probably not. You're probably mad at me, which is cool. But do it, man. I'm telling you, because and I'm gonna get to Strana's thing. He says we're still at the top of the. Oh, well, hang on. Let me answer this. Did I get the deadly COVID jab? Got one because my wife made the appointment for me, and that was it. I didn't get another one. I got one, and I haven't had any problems or anything. And I'd got I guess the Moderna one or whatever with the least um, complicated one. But yeah, I did, and only because my wife really wanted me to, and I was like, I don't know if. But here's the thing: we're done having kids, so if there was any real risk of us having kids again, I mean, there is a risk, but uh, if there was any reality to us having kids again, I wouldn't have gotten it at all. And but it's fine. And my kids have not, period, and they will not. So there you go. So I'll pull that off, and then I'm going to put this up. Still a top real estate bubble that matches the '08 bubble. Now the '08 to 12 bubble is a very interesting time. It's very different than what's happening now, though. Crashless bad loans and foreclosures. Yes, that's exactly it. And so what they're doing right now, what the banks are doing right now is most foreclosures never actually make it into foreclosure. What they do is they go to the homeowner and they try and make a deal with them to run the house through auction, and so that directly through an auction company and not on the courthouse steps, because it does a couple of things. First, it keeps it out of the news to some degree, and so it doesn't instill the panic that set in '08. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make everything seem normal. And I've been talking about this for 2 years with my realtor, because I'm the vulture on the fence. I'm just gonna be honest with you right now. I'm waiting for prices to continue to drop because I want to buy. I watch every single day. I get 3 different reports every single day of properties in my area, just so I can keep an eye on what the price is, everything. There's no short sales, man. Stranded, there's none. There's no short sales. There's no short sales. There's no short sales. There's no foreclosures. They're running the foreclosures through auction and not on the courthouse steps, or through auction companies. I mean, the banks have really manipulated things to prevent anything from triggering the sell-off and the panic that we went through from '08 to 12, which actually started kind of in '05, but we'll go there. But anyway, but yeah, so it's very interesting what's going on. And it's there's no I mean, it's so interesting the last 2 years, because I'm looking for short sales. I'm looking for people in going into foreclosure that just want to bail out, and I'm looking for them, and they're not there, and they haven't been there for almost 3 years that I've been looking. And I mean, I bought a few properties just because they were good deals, but nothing like what I thought I was going to. I honestly thought by now I'd have 10, 12 properties floating around because, of what's going on. Because the one thing the banks can't hide is they can't hide the fact that people are so far behind on their loans. They are doing the same thing that they did in '08, where they delay the foreclosure as long as they possibly can. They do not they never want to actually send it to foreclosure. So there's a bunch of people right now that are 3-4 months behind on their mortgage. They'll never get caught up. Never. But the banks are unwilling to do anything about it. And here's why that is. And I don't think most people realize this. The reason that this is all happening is the forbearances that were given during COVID, where a guy could walk in and just not pay his house payment for 6 months if he proved that COVID had affected his job. And so there are people that took 3-4 months of a forbearance, which, you understand, all they do is they put that on the back of the loan, right? That's all they do. So when it comes out, it doesn't even out. It really gets bad. And it's really, really going to get bad when they do have to start foreclosing. Florida takes 3 years for foreclosure to get through courts. I believe that, man. I believe it. Probably because there's just so many of them. And so the banks here, because I've been looking to buy foreclosures. I've I watch to see if what's at the courthouse steps, and it's just not enough. Um, if you liquidated at the top of the market 1.5 years ago, you made some money. I'm just going to tell you, this dude made money. I mean, he probably made, per deal. He probably cleared 50 grand per deal, depending on how many he did. I know that I liquidated in 2020, early 21. I liquidated two properties and put 800 grand in the bank. So, um, you know, just the way it is. Um, because they were just so ridiculously overpriced. Like, one of them, I kind of wanted to wait because I felt like it would hit 1 million, and I sold it for like 890. But I was like, man, it's going to hit 1 million. It's going to hit 1 million. It's going to hit 1 million. And maybe if I wait another month, it'll go up another 100 grand. But at the end of it, I was just like, I'm tapping out. It's time to go. Take my money, move on. And I did. So, um, yeah, I think that, again, and really, I didn't really start this to talk about that kind of stuff. Started the subject just to tell you that if you are in the market for a house, it's almost time. Rules have to be applied, and those rules are: I don't care how much money you have in the bank, I don't care how much money you're putting down. Put as much as you possibly can down to the point it hurts. It hurts you so bad. Just put that money down. Buy your way into a lower interest rate. Don't shop a payment, shop a price. They're not gonna they're not gonna not want to sell you the house right now. If you walked in and if they wanted 250, if they wanted 280 for the house and they lowered it 30 grand to 250, and you walked in and said, I'll give you 215, they're morons. They don't take the 215 on the spot. As long as you're pre-approved and everything's going to go through, I bet you can get the deal done. And maybe not quite that aggressive. Maybe you have to go up to 225, but they're going to talk. They won't stop talking to you like they would a year ago. A couple of years ago, if I actually had this happen to me at a property I wanted, I kind of wanted it. And the guy was like, well, I want 450 for it. I'm like, well, 450 seems high. I'll give you 400. He never called me back. Just fucking just click, done. On the other side of that, the house um, I bought a house that was what was it? Three. I think they wanted like 330, and we came in at like 310, 315, something like that. So I probably could have gotten a better deal on that if I had paid cash, but I didn't want to pay cash. So and it seemed like a bad idea this past year to buy the apartment in New Jersey, but the problem is there's not a whole lot to buy in New Jersey right now, so we're not going to get hurt there. On the backside of it, the rent on the apartment that we were renting just went up $700 a month. So um, it was actually really the right decision to go ahead at this time and buy in New Jersey, which I wasn't really all for, but it worked out. So guys, do that. Money is important. I mean, I don't think I can stress this enough. Money is super important. You need to understand how it works. You need to understand interest rates. You need to understand payout schedules. You really need to understand. You really need to talk to a banker. Like the number one thing I can tell, I will tell you 100% is you need to know your banker. You need to pick a bank. You need to build a relationship with them, and that way, when you go to ask for a house loan, and if the first time that the bankers ever heard your name is when the application hit their desk, you're nobody to them. If you've been coming there asking for advice once a month for the past 6 months, they remember you, right? Go to your bank, talk to the loan officer, or I mean, depending on how the bank's organized, there are various people, but talk to the whoever's in charge, the loan office manager, and say, hey, I'm looking at getting a house. I want to understand where my money is going to go. I want to understand what's going on. Help me out. And more than likely, 3 or 4 months down the road, when you actually fill out an application and everything's good to go, not only are they going to give you good advice, they're going to remember you, and it's going to help you out. If there's a problem, they're going to be more willing to talk to you and talk you through it, rather than just call up the phone and say, "I'm sorry, Mister Whatever, your loan is not approved," and you'll have to shop it around somewhere else where you get, you know, butt sexed for the interest rate and probably your down payment. So that's house buying, which is really, I kind of bounced around there a little bit, but it was cool, man. It was really cool. Um, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to talk about tonight. Been on now for 2 hours monologuing. That's pretty crazy. Um, Anybody else have any burning issues, burning desires? So yeah, no, nobody. I'm gonna pop over Discord 1 second. So just give me a second. And yeah, so there's all kinds of good stuff. Not here, man. Good show. All right. Yeah, look, hey, it gets kind of boring, man, talking about money, and there's other things that you should be doing right now. Um, you know, Realistically, and I don't know what your guys' situations are. I mean, I know there's only like, I have so few listeners. I feel like I know all of them, but I don't know your exact situations. But I'm going to tell you, um, for the most part, if I don't know that I've ever, I don't know, I've never, I don't, I know I've never talked about this to you guys. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of an anecdotal story about how I kind of went through some of this stuff. The first thing was when my wife and I got married. Instead of buying a house right out of the gate, we lived in an apartment. I actually lived in kind of a high rise apartment across from her school. It was a kind of a college apartment. I mean, obviously she was still in college, so working on a master's program, and I mean, I think I paid like $800 a month or something for that apartment, and all the rest of my money, we just stacked it. Like there wasn't any. I didn't have a super fancy car. I didn't have. Uh, I mean, I bought used furniture, used TV, used everything. Now I was making pretty decent money. I actually had really pretty good money, but it just wasn't worth it. And it wasn't because I wanted to go buy a house. It was because I wanted to build a business. I wanted to be financially responsible, and I was starting in my mind I'm starting a family. So you had to understand, and I needed to understand. I already understood how money worked to some degree, but I really went down a rabbit hole understanding it. And I've heard all of the bullshit um, stories about how to survive in business with all of these little tricks. Like, if you when they do the 0% credit cards, those can be treated as like really expensive um, loans, right? To buy inventory with or whatever. And I never really did that because every time I thought about it, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, so it's 0%, but I still have to pay that money back. And in general, most of the companies I dealt with, if you did a debit card rather than have an account on file with them, they charge you 3 or 4%. And so, is it really worth it? If you're only doing $100 worth of business a week with them, that's probably okay. If you're doing like me, we were doing, with most of my vendors, I was doing 10, 12,000 a week. When you start talking in that kind of when you start talking that kind of money and that kind of interest rate, it hurts, man. It hurts you to watch that money go out the door. Hi, Annie. How are you? Glad you finally made it. You know, um, You were supposed to be on the stream last week, I think. I don't know what happened to you. You didn't show up. Maybe you got embarrassed or bored or something. Maybe next time you can show up and be part of the stream. That'd be good because I'm up here monologuing tonight and I bored the hell out of people. I promise you. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I will be the first one to stand up for the fact that I walk the walk that I preach, and that is live cheap, die well. I'm just telling you, it's the only way. It is the way, you know. And you know, you look at the way that I threw money at whatever, the way that I do stuff, but I can do that because I've built enough working capital. I've built enough worth that I can, right? Like I can go do something and it not hurt me because I end up that money comes back to me somehow. And I think it's important. And I think it's a lesson that's not taught. If you cannot see that money coming back to you somehow, don't do it. Unless you just, I mean, clothes, okay, everybody needs clothes, but if if buying a $300 pair of Calvin Klein jeans gets you a raise of $20,000 a year, okay, great, buy them. If it doesn't, then you probably ought to buy a $50 pair of Levi's. You know, although I don't know what Levi's cost here. I don't buy clothes very often myself. Uh, I mean, I don't understand how people don't I guess I don't understand how people don't understand money. Money seems like the number one thing that's like super easy. Um, and just try not to spend it all. Stay where you're supposed to, stay in your lane, I guess. And it is what it is. Annie says I was tired from university and sleeping like a little kid. Annie, I'm going to put this up here on the screen. Annie, you are a little kid. I hate to tell you. First of all, you're little, I assume. You could be 300 pounds. I don't know, but you sound little. Second, you're a kid. You're 19. You're a kid. I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt your feelings. But you are a kid in Europe, so you're probably a little bit more grown up than some other kids. But, yeah. Well, maybe we'll have you on stream next week. Maybe you want to do that? You can be the little kid. Be fine. Yeah. You're only 300 pounds. Jared, I happen to know that you're not 300 pounds. You're like 288. Strana M, this is worthy. This is worthy. Credit cards make it too easy for people to get messed up. That is absolutely right. So I pay off my credit cards every month. My wife pays off hers every month or maybe every month. I actually don't know when she pays her off. But it would really hurt for I've had people look at my credit card bill and it really hurts their feelings because of what what it is. And I'm gonna go into something here. I have time to talk about it. Um, so I don't I think retirement planning and that sort of thing is very important. And even if you're not actually planning on retirement, you need to have a plan in place so that when you get later in life, like I retired at 45. Um, when you get later in life, you need to have a plan to figure out how you're going to live. And just throwing money in a 401k, just throwing maxing out your Roth IRA, that kind of thing. That'll get you some of the way there. But I'm going to tell you right now, you got to do better. And what I did and what I suggest that everybody do when you're, first of all, I wouldn't, plan for retirement every year that you're alive, right? Like every year you should sit down and say, okay, if I retire in 5 years or 10 years, this is what I need to survive. Where you pick an age where you're going to retire. So if you're 30, okay, you're going to retire at 50, right? Or 45 or 55, whatever. So pick that age. Look at how much it costs you to live right now today. What is your monthly spend? And we'll pick on me, right? I'm a little bit different, but my monthly spend, um, not or my monthly spend with mortgages. Um, I don't have car payments of any kind, but mortgages, insurance, um, food, and stuff we buy. Okay, so in mortgages right now, uh, I'm probably spending about 8 grand in mortgages a month, maybe nine, probably nine. Call it nine. My average credit card bill per month for my just groceries, gas, stuff I buy, whatever. My credit card bill every month is usually somewhere between 7 and 8. Um, the insurance, car insurance, probably I think is like 400 a month. It might be less than that now. Homeowner insurance is, for the homes are not paid monthly; they're paid yearly. About so that doesn't really matter. What else do I pay every month? And just utilities and stuff, probably another couple of grand. So say it that I have to have at least call it about 20 grand a month, right? To be retired, to stay retired. I have to have that. And I have that in the form of, well, right now I only use my rental income, right? Like that's, and some of the retirement funds that I had, some of the payouts that I have that pay out every month. But yours may be different, right? Like you may have a $1,500 mortgage. You may have you know, yeah, you might have a $2,000 mortgage, and no car payment, but you travel a little bit. Maybe you need $10,000 a month. So whatever it is that you feel like you need today to survive, that's what you need to plan to have coming in when you're retired, when you're doing nothing. You need to have that much in income that you don't do anything to accomplish. Now you can do that through rental property. You can do that through investments, annuities, which I'm not a big fan of, but they do work. You can do that through various stocks and portfolio management. For me, I can't do portfolio management. My wife's job, well, I can do portfolio management. I can't have any stocks. Um, so, um, unfortunately, for me, I can't like if I could have bought Tesla, dude, I would have. I'd have a lot more money. Well, I don't know if I'd have a lot more money, but I'd have more money. I can't buy. I can't do anything with stocks, so stocks are out for me. Um, so most of my investments are in real estate and other businesses that are not publicly traded. And I encourage everybody somewhere in your town. There's a guy. There's a bakery or an auto shop or a caterer or somebody that they need 10 grand to get to the next level or 15 grand to get to the next level or 30 grand to get to the next level. And if you happen to have it and you can do that and become a partner and an investor in that enterprise, as long as it's something that makes sense and is growing. One of my best investments was into a machine shop. They actually didn't do any car stuff. All they did was they had 7 clients, which was scary. They did medical um, prototyping mostly for like various clamps and things they use during surgery and after surgery and fixtures and things like that. They did some aerospace, but mostly they did a lot of prototyping for the medical industry. I didn't realize that was a thing. It is, and they needed, they were making good money, but they needed to go to the next level. They needed about 100 grand in cash, and I was part of that. I put together a package with some friends of mine where we gave them 100 grand, and that's paid off every year since. I own, I think I'd have to look at exactly how much of it I own today, but I own like 22% or something of that company. A couple of my friends own some more. Every month, you know, I get a statement, and at the end of the year, I get a check. It's usually pretty good. You know, you don't have to be that smart. You just have to be willing to look around and pay attention and be a little bit proactive and be willing to say no a lot, right? Because there's a lot of people out in the world that want money that you should never give them money. So you need to be willing to say no. But on the other side of that, you're going to be able to find a business somewhere that puts money in and make money. And that's the goal, is to always make money. And you can make money in your job, and you should. I always think, and I also tell everybody, one of the first things I tell anyone is you have to have income. When you start investing, there's no way that you are going to succeed by going out and going into debt and owning rental properties and counting on the appreciation to carry you through while you take out equity and buy more properties. That's a recipe for disaster. You will go broke so fast. So don't do that. Buy one rental property, get it halfway paid down. You have a ton of actual equity in it, and then go buy another property. That's cool. But, you know, a lot of reasons we're going to see a crash is the get rich quick rental people that bought 10 rental properties. All right, so I'm probably boring Annie to death talking about money, and seems like I kind of drug that out there a little bit, but you really need to understand money. I mean, I think it's a worthwhile, um, I think it's a worthwhile course of study, and I do think that you really need to establish your goals. And I strongly suggest that every step of your life, every year, you sit down and you say, I need 5,000. I live on $5,000 a month, and I need to have that. If I retired today, I would need $5,000 a month. And you need to plan to have that passively coming in. And it can be any, and you don't know today. A lot of you guys probably don't realize it, but if you just put $100 to $150 a week into any kind of account, money market, um, a brokerage account that's managed, an index. Just if you put $100, if you put $150 a week in the S&P 500 index through Morgan Stanley or whatever, when you get to retirement age, if you're 24 right now, when you retire at 55, you should have million five in that bank account. If you never touch it and you just do it, be smart, guys. Really think, really think, and because money's important. Money is very important, and understanding money is even more important, because people will rob you, they will steal from you, they will tell you things that's not true. That's why you see all these broke ass football players, all these guys that made $1 million a year, and then they're fucking broke, right? The other things don't look like you make $1 million a year. Just don't do it. Number one thing when you're heading for retirement, when you want to live in retirement like other people can't even live today, plan ahead, far ahead. Now, Annie, this unfortunately doesn't really apply to you because you're in another country. I'm not really sure what your laws are or anything. Plus, you're probably going to marry some count or duke or something in Georgian aristocracy and be a kept woman the rest of your life. So I'm not really worried about you. But the rest of us have to work for a living, and money's very important to us, and it's very important to treat very seriously. And I'm skipping through a lot of stuff, and we'll talk about over however long I do this. I'm sure we'll talk in much greater detail over very specific things um, as time goes on. But right now, I just want to hit some high points. Um, there's a lot of there's a lot of um, what's the word I'm thinking about? There's a lot of mythology out there, guys. I use that term a lot. A lot of mythology because people just tell you shit that's just not fucking real at all. It's not. It's not real. You know. People tell you put money in the stock market. Stock market's going up. Put money in Bitcoin. Right. Bitcoin's going to the moon. Um, my problem with Bitcoin is it's not money. I can trade it for money, which makes it an asset, but it's not money. And they're gradually figuring out how to tax it, and that makes it far less attractive than it originally was because you know it was very attractive when they weren't taxing it and there was massive growth and all that. But I don't know. It could be really good. I'm going to stay out of it. I personally think that it's a prime opportunity for the pump and dump, um, repeated pump and dumps like you used to see with Microsoft and Apple. Um, I made a lot of money before I got married trading Microsoft and Apple because they go up and down. And rule of thumb was just buy on the dip and it would go back up and then you would sell and then you would buy on the dip again. And you might have to sit out for 3 or 4 months while it kept going because I had a rule of where I would sell and it could continue way higher than that. So I may have to wait a week or 3 weeks or whatever, but eventually it would drop again and I'd buy on the drop and I just kept doing that. I did that for a year or 2 years and made a bunch of money doing it. But it's not for everybody, and if you cannot lose the money and be absolutely fine with it, don't do it. Just invest in an index. If you do an S&P 500 index, you will make lots of money. Well, not lots, but you'll be very comfortable. All right, guys. Any questions? I'm very interested in questions and thought processes and all kinds of stuff. Anyone? It's come on, it's Q&A time. Help me out. I did see that. I did see that. I want to look at that. I haven't had time to look at it, but I'm going to look at it. I hadn't seen that one. Um, the most of the fund managers that buy in on the indexes are really pretty sharp, though. They stay they stay pretty on top of it. So I don't know. The index. I like the indexes. Um, I don't like individual stocks. Well, I can't. So here's the thing: the only thing I can trade are indexes. So, and I have pretty good stops. So, not when I see it. I'll watch it, man. I will. I've not seen it um, for sure. I've always had problems with it. So, all right. So this is a perfect comment. Perfect. I'm technically starting my career, so I'm just juggling between rent and saving a part of my salary. Costs are high. Brother, it's always been that way. Um, it's I've never lived I've never lived in a period of my life where people that were starting out in anything thought they made enough money. There's a really viral video going around of this girl that works at Walmart, and she's just like bitching out loud that I work at Walmart. I work 40 hours a week. It's so terrible. I can't do it. I can't understand why I can't buy a house. I live in a crappy apartment, whatever. And you guys, 20 years ago, you didn't go through this. And yet, 20 years ago, I fucking did. Well, not 20 years ago, because I was 30 20 years ago and I was doing all right. But, dude, when I was when I was 19, 20, 21, 22, I had roommates. And I'm talking about roommates for $600 a month apartments. You know what I'm saying? Well, $1,000. I rented a house one time. It was $1,200 a month for the house. It was like a 4-bedroom house. And I rented literally every single room out so that I could pay rent. And it was hard, man. Like I had a car payment. My car payment was like $180 a month. That's like, we can't even go out to eat for that now. And I struggled every month, man. And I had a really decent job, but it's, I mean, nobody's ever started out making enough money. If you make if you make enough money to the point where you can be comfortable, dial it back a notch, be a little bit uncomfortable, and put that money in savings. Um, you know, I mean, I did. Like I didn't go out. I had a VCR. Yeah, I used to tell people it's embarrassing a little bit because now I'm like totally opposite, but I could go back doing it though. The thing is I could just drop it all, but I don't want to. But here's the thing: when I was in college, I had an apartment. Um, I had everything I needed. I never went anywhere. I never did anything. I never paid for anything that I didn't have to pay for. The only reason I had a TV was I had a girlfriend that liked to watch TV, and that was it. Like there was other than that, I didn't even watch TV. I didn't want to watch TV. I didn't have cable. I had a VCR because Radio Shack sent me a credit card, and I bought the VCR on my credit card, and I ended up paying it off at like $5 a week or something forever. But and I did that. This is the other thing. Great. I did that exact thing. I worked two jobs. I as from when I was I actually started working when I was 15. You weren't supposed to start until you were 16, but your parents could sign and you could start working at 15. And I started working when I was 15, and I always had until I graduated college, I always had at least two jobs, and I usually had three. Now they were crappy jobs, right? A lot of them were minimum wage. A lot of them didn't pay anything really, but I could live and I had enough money to do the things I wanted to do, and more or less pay my bills. Every now and again, I'd be tight. I would get like super tight. Now, and you lose your job because it's a crappy starter job, and they're looking for a reason to fire you half the time. And um, so dude, I've been there, been that exact spot. And I did work a second job, and that second job literally most of the money went into a savings account, and the balance of it went into my the first race car I built for myself, which was a pile of junk. I spent hardly any money on it, but I'm frugal, dude. I'm very frugal. I've always been frugal. I think it just comes from being born poor, and seeing what real poverty is. And it just, I don't know. I've never forgotten it, dude. I to this day. I mean, I live pretty luxuriously now, but you know, it's just weird. But yeah, I mean, if you have to work two jobs, if you can work two jobs, especially if you don't have a girl, like if I didn't have a girl, when I did not have a girlfriend, I had two jobs, three sometimes. I worked my balls off. I remember when I was in college, one of the best jobs I ever had was I was a security guard because it paid almost double what I could make anywhere else. I think everybody else was like minimum wage was like three and a quarter, and most places paid about somewhere like $4 or $5 an hour, something like that. And I kid you not even a little bit. Um, I was able to get a security guard card because law abiding citizen. and I passed the test. So I got my guard card, and that job paid like $8 or $10 an hour, which was double what I could make anywhere else. And I still had a second job, and the hours were awful. But the thing about the hours for me is I could do my homework. Like I was literally while I was sitting there doing my homework, I was I was sitting in a guard shack doing my homework while I was getting paid, and I just every hour or so I'd put my homework down and go do my rounds and hit clock in where I needed to clock in, and then I would go back out and do my homework again. It was like flawless. It was the best. It was one of the better college jobs I ever had, and like I said, it paid twice what anywhere else did. So mainly because you had to get that card, and then I went to when I worked with kids, and then I had a day at night, and I had a day job, and I mean I just I worked I mean I've always worked a lot, but I strongly recommend that when you're young and you can do it, especially if you don't have much of a social life, just keep working, man. Just stack cash. Number one rule right now, especially right now, it costs so much money to live. You know, Going out to eat at McDonald's is $20 now. That's insane. Um, you know, it's just crazy everywhere. I can't. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, work. I mean, number one rule though is you've got to have income coming in. If you don't have income, you're hosed, because it doesn't matter how many passive streams of income that you think you're going to have. Most of those require some kind of income from working to set up and maintain and to keep that cash flowing. So I would always, um, honestly, I'm always looking for another revenue stream myself. Like I'm looking at investing in an airplane company. Um, I wasn't even kidding about Tiny's company. Like it's a $10 million company, so I'd have to get with some buddies, and we probably, if I was going to buy it, I'd probably get four guys to come in with me, and we can make the deal happen. But it's a it's a wrong kind of company for me. Um, but I would do it. I would. And at some point, AC and everybody else, it's cool to be a singleton and run around and just be a free agent, doing all your own shit. At some point, you need to assemble a team if you want to make money, and you need to have you need to get some smart people, hopefully smarter and honest, and you all work together to make money, right? And that's helped me out a lot, is being able to be able to go to my guys, like three or four of them, and say, and I don't tap all of them for every deal, right? So like if I'm going to buy this, I'm thinking about buying this airplane company. I think I'm going to buy a piece of it, and then if it works out, I'll buy the whole thing. If that happens, I will not want to pay for the whole thing. And that gives me two options. That's either to go finance it, or I bring in somebody with me. And I will go, and probably what I'll do is I'll go to my buddy Dimitri. I'll say, Dimitri, let's let's go in on this deal together. We'll do a 48-48 split, and we'll put the remaining 4% in a voting stock for somebody that's relatively neutral. You have to find that person, and that way we can't hose each other, and and the company will work out. And because it's not that I can't afford to put the 250 or $500,000 into it, it's just I don't want to, right? Like, be smart with how you use your money. So um you know letting somebody else make money is just as good as you making money, especially if it lowers your personal risk. you know Yeah, I mean, now I really feel like I'm boring everybody, but I'm glad that you guys hung around for this long. I think I'm going to call this stream. It's a little early for me. I've only been on 2 hours and 40 minutes, but um, it's really been a good night. I feel like I've been pretty focused tonight. I really I don't know what happened to everybody that was supposed to be on stream with me, but that happens. Hopefully, maybe I'll get Annie to actually show up next week and and do some, put in some time. It's always good to have a Fed on the show, and the and we'll have some good stuff to talk about. I don't think I'm going to do a Monday show. I'll probably do um, a Wednesday show, and then and then next Friday as well. So I don't go. We'll see how it works out. All right, guys. Man, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We'll see you over in the Discord, and we will have a great time. I'm going to do some more work. I really like Rye Guy's art, and I'm going to try and do some more stuff. Kind of, I may talk to him about helping me out, or maybe I'll try some myself. But that the intro is awesome, and we're going to do some other cool stuff. Guys, have a great rest of your evening. I'm gonna jump off here. Maybe I'll hang out in the chat for a few minutes, and then I'll probably call it a night. Hit the hay. You guys are tops in my book, and you know, uh, be better, right? Be better every day, and think about everything you do in a very serious way, and do it with intent and purpose. Night, guys. We'll see you later.